Hello, good afternoon. My name is Gary Thornhill. I'm the founder and CEO of PopUp Mainframe, and today we'll be introducing PopUp Mainframe and then giving you a demo of the latest and greatest. So let me just make a start. The mainframe market is several thousand large, successful organizations and institutions across the globe. The mainframe appeal is universal and prevalent across many sectors. This includes financial services, insurance, retail, logistics, government, and transportation. What these sectors and organizations have in common is that IT infrastructure is some of the busiest, processing billions of transactions as a primary instrument of the global economy. These are systems too critical to fail, too important to use commodity technology. They rely on the IBM mainframe because of its credentials of being the most powerful, resilient machine available on the market. And that's never been truer since the release of the Z17 with all its AI capability and new processors. Yet, mainframe change can be highly challenging still for organizations today. We commissioned an independent survey earlier this year from a market research agency called Vanson Bourne, and the market came up with these results. And I'm sure some of these hard truths of the mainframe world will resonate with you and your own experience. Nearly all respondents experienced challenges in dev and test when using the mainframe. 9 out of 10 had concerns around the availability of mainframe environments, and a third said it required 4 or more teams to get mainframe deliveries done. And 8 out of 10 of those respondents think that staffing and tooling is limiting and hindering the business. It's evident all organizations have challenges. Availability is an issue, and siloed organizations are very much a problem in the world of mainframe. And tooling and skills are getting in the way, despite there being exactly the same tools available for the mainframe. It's just difficult for those to be used. We'll highlight today how that can be addressed. Anyway, this is not a positive situation for many decision makers. There's too many bottlenecks, and this is getting in the way of organizations delivering. So, what is the solution to that? Well, here at PopUp Mainframe, we think that provisioning a PopUp Mainframe is the way forward. You can relieve these bottlenecks without having to invest in new tin by installing PopUp Mainframe on adjacent Linux platforms. And this can be LinuxONE Z, LinuxONE, on-prem x86, and we can run PopUp Mainframe in any cloud server. And now, with our fast track capability, which I'll talk about in a while, we can combine them, and you can move between those different environments based on your use case and need, because you can use a floating license model, so you only need to have as many licenses in use as you've got mainframes up. So what this means is you can have other mainframes that are actually dormant and down, and you can use them for use cases later on, and use them on a need-to-need basis.
So just to, I know you're going to get into it, but just
sure
to set the stage.
Yeah.
That middle option is pretty obvious. Emulator on x86, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
Roughly speaking. I don't want to put words in your mouth. The left and the right. Okay. I understand the right.
Yes.
I think that I would like you to distinguish between the right and the left there, for a both mainframe and, let's say, mainframe interested audience.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to start with the right, LinuxONE Z. So
an IFL, because not everybody knows.
Yeah, an IFL is an integrated Linux facility, and that is a specific processor that runs on the mainframe itself.
It's IBM facilities, IBM language for processor.
Yes, yes, it's a processor that is not a general processor for running Z workload or say Z workload, but an actual regular LPAR. So on the IFL, you're running effectively the same chip, but it's adjusted for Linux workloads, and it's completely isolated from the general processor. So you can run PopUp Mainframe on that. So while it can reside on the same physical machine, it's completely separated and doesn't use any of the resources that chip uses for production workload or regular dev and test. So that's
a Z system with this Linux capability.
Yes.
On the left.
Yeah, and so then PopUp Mainframe, you'd be running virtualized mainframe on the IFL next door. Now, LinuxONE, you can run exactly the same operating system. Could be Z Linux, KVM, whatever, and you can run those Linux operating systems on a LinuxONE. So you can run. So LinuxONE is a different hardware, and you would run PopUp Mainframe exactly the same way on LinuxONE as you would on Linux on Z. So hopefully that covers it.
Yeah. So my take on this,
yeah.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, including you, Stephen. Please, is that your customers have a lot of different environments that they use. Most of them are using x86, but that's almost practically a different team. But they may be using Z. They can use they may have IFL systems. They may not. They may have LinuxONE systems. They may not. So PopUp is doing the tricky technical engineering, so they have choice and don't have to move into some kind of new box or hardware.
Correct.
In order to take advantage of it.
And that's exactly right. So we don't, if you want to stand up a PopUp Mainframe environment quickly, you don't want to have to get in the business of procuring hardware. Yeah. What can you use you've already got to get it up and running? So now before we just had it on x86, now we've got it on that left and right option.
Gary, the way I would see that, and maybe to pile on to Guy's question, is optionality.
Yes.
If you've got x86 kit and you as a mainframe team are comfortable with doing dev test on x86, PopUp's got you covered.
Yeah.
If you're a mainframe team and you're not comfortable with x86, PopUp's got you covered. You can run that on your mainframe box with an IFL, or if you've got a LinuxONE box in your environment, you can run it there. The way I take that away is, and I'm getting to a question, am I thinking about that as optionality and you'll meet them wherever they are from a hardware point of view? There's no restriction. Is that the way? Am I hearing about it right?
That's exactly correct, Stephen. I mean, it's just that some organizations, and we've seen this, do not want to have any mainframe running on x86 at all. They want it on something like Linux on Z, which is the same, running the same hardware and under control of the same team. So that's right. We've got options, and I don't want to spoil it for everyone, but we can talk about moving between those environments later with our technology, so that perhaps you've got an LPAR a production like LPAR on a Linux on Z, for example, and then you can push that to the cloud, and you could provide that environment to incumbent outsourcers or someone running a POC, and you've got that flexibility. Well, I did give the game away now, so you took it out of me. But anyway,
I have another question for you.
Yes, Stephen.
Maybe you're going to get to this, but
yes, Stephen. That's because there's multiple.
You could just say that to any of us.
Yeah, I'll just say that. Yeah.
So now that PopUp has been, so you're not new anymore. You've got customers. You've got, you're out there doing this. Are people coming to you more for the flexibility, more for the application development lifecycle, more for the, I guess, hardware savings, or to run it on cloud? I mean, what is the real customer demand that you're starting to see? Because this product can do a few different things.
Yeah, that's right. And there's so many use cases you can do with this. I think fundamentally, most of our customers are wanting PopUp because there's a shortage of environments. And they're and it could be for multiple reasons. It could be contractually, they could be doing a data center move, or they just want to have the full, what's in a PopUp included out of the box. That is because we can install it in less than 10 minutes. all of that's available to start new things, and without the, I don't know, the overhead of trying to work on an existing LPAR, which could be, you know, you might not have the MSUs available to do the work you want. So PopUp is the answer.
If you look at it the other way, okay. So
yeah.
if Steve came to me and said, Mark, I need a test LPAR to do some development and testing, myself as the techie have to go and make hardware configuration changes, clone the operating system, restore it all, configure it, get it up and running. That's 4 to 5 days work.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it on real, Z processor, this stuff gives you, as Gary said, 10 minutes.
Well, that's how I saw it. So last year when we talked about this, I was seeing it sort of analogous to like a Docker container or something like that. Like, oh, I need a web server. I could build it, or I could just, you know, Docker compose, bam, now I got a web server. And it sounds like this is exactly the same thing, except for the mainframe.
Yeah, I mean, and we can run these in containers. You can run them so many different ways now, particularly as we move across onto the Z environment, which actually gives us greater flexibility. Anyway, let me continue on. And just to be clear, one thing, so the license restricts from running any production workload. It's just dev test only. You know, that's important. I can hear IBM in the back of my ear just asking me to say that to everybody.
Yes, but let me, so is it, just to be really clear, is it a license that restricts for dev test or restricts out of production? Because, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine someone doing, say, QA2 anywhere but in a very similar production environment, but QA1 they might want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so,
as long as you're not running production workload, but we've got many different partners and consultancies taking pop-ups now, and they could just be doing you know, pre-work before they take it to their clients.
yeah, I just
developing their own products. But yeah, nothing stops you running
UAT
UAT.
Dev test and feel like that's the restriction. It's more
not
like
at all
not production.
Not production. Exactly right. So you could be doing production fix, for example. It's just and that's a really good use case to do production fix, because you can match a pop-up to any LPAR PTF and you've got that full flexibility. So that is a great use case. Anyway, so we've designed PopUp Mainframe to ensure it's compatible and therefore credible as a solution. Data compliance is a really important part of our offering, and we can talk about how we can use advanced masking technology to help bring that compliant data in. And now we can ensure that data never leaves Z. And we've got a couple of ways architecturally how we do that, how we do the masking and provision downstream environments. Key, we integrate with all of the existing mainframe environments and tools. We also have the added advantage that we have the IBM BMC along with third-party and open source tools already pre-installed and pre-configured. So when you install that pop-up, you've got all that other software available that you can use straight out of the box and start doing work with. And I think that's a huge advantage of the product. So yeah, just to reiterate, we're compatible with anything ZOS that organizations are running, and we've got all sorts of weird and wondrous things running in strange legacy bespoke code. We've got it all working on a pop-up, so that's a really important point to make. And all form, you know, some of the older CA databases, IDMS and Alibas as well, we can run those, so it doesn't hold anything back at all. And we're delighted with what we're seeing with our clients. This is just a short summary. We can use their existing environments to accelerate dev test and protect those production MIPS. We can flexibly initiate dev test training environments at any time, and that is really important to start any form of R&D projects. And we have an existing client that have managed to quadruple their mainframe delivery velocity, and just through efficient resource usage, and as well as ensuring that for the first time they can get proper compliant data into their test environments. Importantly and increasingly to all CIOs, PopUp improves sustainability, reduces emissions and power usage because you can unplug unused environments, and we've actually got automation built in, so if you don't use it for 2 hours, it's a flag, obviously, it will switch itself off in a clean fashion, so you can just start it back up again as and when you need to.
Sorry, just go back.
Sure.
On those, what do you think, like, of your customers, what's the top 3 things that your customers are using?
Yeah, that's what I was curious about too.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, probably the top 3. It's just, if you, having run mainframe delivery teams myself, you know, you might wait a week to get a DB2 change made in a set environment because that might be done by another outsourcer, and it's on a queue. There might not be any. There might not be an SOW available, so it has to be signed up before that DB2 environment is created, and the dev teams just stop or do something else. It's things like that. So putting it, giving it in the hands of the developer that this can be done themselves. They're not reliant. I mean, it still will go to a formal environment, but so much can be driven out in the earlier stages of development and testing.
So I'm mostly an open source person. So
Okay.
let me ask you a
We love open source. We do loads of that.
Okay. So like basic baby question, if well, open systems is what I meant to say. So baby question, if you get your dev team PopUp Mainframe and they're able to start working on something while you're waiting for all of the business side stuff to be checked off, you know, T's crossed, I's dotted, what happens to the data that are the things that they develop? Do they have to then replicate those in the environment, or the data? Are they able to transfer what they've done?
Yes, that's right. Well, that's right. So we have, and I think that's, I might move on to the next slide to answer that question.
That's a pretty good diagram of that.
So, here's some foundational architectural elements. So we work with this concept of a gold copy that acts as the master instance that you can see there. And so we've developed our own IP and approach to move data and config across to the gold copy, so that the environment that they're familiar with is replicated into a pop-up. And I'll get into the masking of the data in a while. But once we've created that gold copy, and that obviously, you know, we might approach it and we might be 90% working, and then we can just toggle it, refine it, go back, look at the physical system, maybe make a tweak. But once we've established that and it's been tested out, then we can push that gold copy to other instances for whatever use cases you want. So when you've got one, you can then have as many as you like. And it literally takes, so on the IFL, we can create a copy of, you know, 2 or 3 terabyte gold copy, and then it's another virtual machine in 5 minutes for another use case. So that is, you know, pretty powerful once you've invested in the first one. And some organizations know their environments better than others, but we have experts to really unpick that and get it established.
So there's no additional configuration when you take it from a Z17 to something else?
No. Well, it's the most important thing is the version of ZOS. So if you're running 3.1 on Z17 or 2.5, then we would provide the same version of ZOS on the pop-up.
Okay.
And then it's a case of moving over probably load libraries and doing some binds and things like that, kicks.
So the hardware then has to be the same then, right?
Well, I mean, this is hardware emulation. So there are certain parts of depends on the load library, but all the hardware is emulated onto using the underlying IBM technology established on the pop-up. So it doesn't really matter. It's less about Z15, 16, 17. It's more about the level of ZOS.
Because I was thinking, you know, you have the Z17 in the office, and then you create a home lab just for testing environment. And of course you don't have a Z17 at home. So
no, most people don't. Maybe Ross Mowry has if he's fortunate enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's the idea. We're not, it's about getting providing production-like environments to test early. But I think as I get through the presentation, more and more will be revealed. What I was going to say here, and the other thing that we can do is we can install any SCM onto the pop-up. So you could just use it as a node and move virtual pop-ups into your end-to-end SDLC and promote members up to, say, UAT, and then do testing back on the physical mainframe. So there's lots of different ways of how you would use pop-ups end-to-end, and you might just use them individually for, say, testing new functions of DB2. Once you've created your gold copy with a full application on, it's an ideal opportunity to try and use those versions of DB2 that you might never get to do on a regular physical environment. So
to pull on that a little bit, because that was going to be my question.
Yeah,
you're fitting within a software development lifecycle manager that a customer might be using with these features, so that they can manage that gold copy and its deployment and implementation within their SDLC.
Yes. Again, it depends on, we can understand how the client's working today. They could be some of them might want to work exactly the same way they did before and just create pop-up as an LPAR, but we're trying to encourage them to work newer ways. And I'm just going to use the bottom end of this slide here to show that. So with pop-ups, you can get regular refreshes of data into the pop-up gold copy, and then you can push those copies down to different environments. So it's up to them if they want to take those refreshes or not. So that could be a newer way of working. But with this fast track facility that we've developed, and this allows us to refresh pop-up instances, but it also allows us to create multiple snapshots of different pop-ups. And that could be on different versions of code, different versions of subsystems. Looks like you've got a question, Mark.
No.
So and this is the bit that got me the last time, because to try and do this in a real mainframe environment, it's nigh on impossible, because the amount of hoops you would have to go through to make sure you've got a backup of the data and then restore it. And what I liked about this, you might have a 12-hour testing window, and you get 4 hours into it and it breaks, and you think, oh, so you can roll it back to the last snapshot, do the little fix that you've got to do, then roll it forward another 8 hours, break something else, roll that back a couple of hours, or go through the whole thing and it works, and then quickly reset it and then do it again. To do that in the real mainframe space, because this is obviously emulated disk under the covers, this is so much more efficient.
Yeah. And with the Z, it's going 5 times faster than the X products as well on the IFL. But just to add to that, we're showing this today, but
so Gary, I'm going to
okay,
because you said something really fascinating, but you went quickly.
Yeah.
And I think it's worthwhile capturing. So you mentioned you've now ported pop-up to the IFL.
Yes.
You said, is it fast 5 times?
5 times faster. So
it's on average 5 times faster. Some of it's 10 times faster. It's all about where the disk I/O is, because as you know, with on Z, the CPU is not emulated; it goes straight to the chip, but the disk is still emulated. So depending the balance between I/O and CPU, but on average, we're seeing 5 times average performance.
So the advantage isn't just mainframe team. You don't have to deal with x86. You can stay dealing with Z. That's one advantage. The other advantage is it'll run 5 times faster than running on x86.
IFL, yeah.
So you've got optionality. You can run it on x86, but there is an advantage to run it on the IFL.
It is, and really, we didn't have any complaints from clients around performance, but it would just allow us to be more efficient. So sometimes you need to license multiple CPUs. So it is a more cost-efficient option, but you are running it on obviously slightly more expensive hardware than some of the x86.
Yeah, but it's more expensive hardware, and Steve's more knowledgeable about this. You know, if you have normal processors, we cap them. So I'll use a car analogy. I've got 4 general purpose engines at 1000 cc, but the actual processor could probably go up to 5000. Yeah, IFL's a full stack. So you get the whole thing, no matter if the other ones are capped, you get the full stack of the IFL, so you get the full power of the IFL. When you do the math, it's not that expensive.
No, I agree.
Shops may have spare IFL capacity hanging around anyway.
Yeah.
I'd imagine the footprint of this is pretty small, and an IFL, as you say, is pretty big.
Yeah, they're tall.
So this is something. The wider point is, you're probably not having to buy IFLs to run PopUp. You're probably able to operate on the IFLs you've already got.
Yeah. No, that's what we're hoping.
It's a really good point.
And this is where this capability that we're talking about now on the IFL, to me, is a complete game changer for how environments are managed in dev and test.
Yeah, it's a little DevOpsy, to be honest. Like
very DevOpsy.
Yeah, you know, like but without having to use Silicon Valley lingo, which really appeals.
Mainframers don't like that very much.
Yeah, well, I'm with them on that. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah. But and the great thing is, so we've talked about the benefits of the IFL and running it. So we could build a gold copy in a secure zone on the IFL, master data there, and then we could push out copies, exact same copies, to cloud systems if we wanted, and that could be to partners you don't want to have access to your mainframe. They could be for testing out POC. So you start getting all the benefits, but control as well. In fact, I'm going to go back to that slide in a minute, just to show it here. So this is what we're talking about. So you could run full dev test environments on the IFL, have that capability with fast track, being able to rewind, checkpoint, branch, publish out, and create copies. And then some of those could be in the cloud if you wanted, and you wouldn't have to do anything to them to run them there. So I think that shows great flexibility based on use case. And if you've got you want something in Azure, then you can have it. If you need the power on the IFL, you've got that. But let me skip back. Yes, sorry.
Just because it's kind of open the door, since we're talking about putting these snapshots every place. Are you going to talk about security and like how these are secured and if they're secured?
We don't go too much into that because you've got all of the security that's available you would have on the regular mainframe, and you can, as well as you've got full RACF security that you would put on, so at the application level, and then you've got the full Linux layer capability of security. So you can, there's so much security. Well, we're not trying to address that in this presentation, but
generally, if I put this in the cloud, is it like me having a database that's wide open in the cloud that maybe I'm just not clever enough to change the password? But so
you could use cloud level security to access to the servers. You got at that level. You got the security of the Azure, say for the Azure or AWS virtual machine, and then you've got all the regular ZOS security. It's exactly the same. It's just emulated as well. So you've actually got multi layers of security that you can implement, and with whatever authentication. So I'm not an expert in security, but I know as anything, whatever an organization is how they're working today, they can reproduce that onto the PopUp in multiple ways.
Yeah, the most important thing though is masking the application data, masking the business data, because all the other controls we've got there, multi-factor authentication, all that kind of stuff, that's just out the box. But the fact that they mask the data, that's the good part.
Even if you get access to it.
Yeah, if you could get access to it, and the chances of getting access to it through all those layers, So
the chances are that it's locked down when you emulate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when the snapshot is emulated, is it like an ISO, or is it like a?
It's using ZFS under the covers, so it's using read.
The Z file system in American English.
Okay.
Yeah, it's using read-write technology, and the good thing is that it's just using pointers to the changes. So the downstream copies here, the three on the side, they've actually worked with 90% compression. So you're not using DASD, you're using commodity disk, and that's 90% compressed as well. So if you've got a terabyte footprint of the gold copy instance, then pop-ups, call them that, they're 100 gig. So you get huge amounts of...
Pointing what he said around DASD is what mainframe was called, direct to storage device, equals expensive bit of storage.
Yeah.
It's much better than it used to be, but still...
It'll be an order of magnitude more expensive than your NetApp filer would be.
I was trying to figure out if it did sector by sector copy, or if it does like
it just measures
copy
changes.
Anything like third-party programs get loaded on after the fact, or
no, they're just already there. It snapshots the whole image of everything, and I'll show you that.
Okay.
Like a view snapshot.
So just let me quickly introduce to you just the
concept for the mainframe.
The delivery pipeline we'll be using today. This is just an example of how we set up a pop-up to support a modern mainframe delivery environment. This is a modern mainframe delivery DevOps setup, and it's using new tools like VS Code, IBM IDZ, and open source, including Galassa and CobbleCheck for using test automation. If we zoom into the build and test part of the life cycle, and just to reiterate, this is just one example. We can plug in whatever clients are already using. So whatever they're using in the enterprise, it's much better to reuse it. But this is just one example. Obviously, we have to go with something, but it's very flexible how you can move between different technologies. But this is what we're going to show you in the demo. Oh, cool. And any tools can be swapped in at any stage.
They're cool.
Oh, good. Yeah, we don't.
Just reinforcement, not a question.
Good. We don't insist on you use this or that, apart from just using a pop-up.
Okay. Gary, you mentioned IBM and BMC.
Yes.
There's Rocket and there's Broadcom.
Yes.
Are they supported as well?
Completely. Everyone's supported.
I'm using Endeavour as a source code management tool. I can use that.
Yeah, we've got clients. We've got Endeavour installed on the pop-up, no issue, in multiple clients. It's just what we have here is pre-installed and ready to go, so there's options. Trying to have every combination would be very difficult.
Oh, so that's a good point. So IBM and BMC and some open source are pre-installed.
Yes.
I've got the flexibility to use Rocket and Broadcom, but it's not pre-installed.
It's not just pre-installed. Otherwise, it's just trying to keep up, because we're releasing pop-ups and updates. Just trying to update and release all that software would be quite a big overhead. So we've gone with two. I'm sure we'll do more as we grow and more successful with our clients. But you can run anything on there. But we have those two choices. Just in case mainframers are scared of DevOps pipelines, there's still loads of value using a pop-up just to have a clean environment to test against. And one of the most obvious use cases is to provision a pop-up so upstream systems can test against the mainframe. Quite often, upstream applications on different platforms, they're struggling to find a mainframe environment to test against. So this is a key use case.
It can be expensive, and it can take a while to get the mainframe team up to give. Yes, reassuringly expensive indeed. Yep.
And just to go back to, I think we've covered data compliance a bit. So again, to help our clients, we've got a pre-installed offering now, DataVantage. This has been around since the late 70s, and it makes it very easy to use ISPF to do data compliance and do that masking. So if clients need to test things out and are worried about their data being insecure, then we can mask it for them very quickly using this technology. Of course, you can use others, but this is just on a pre-install as well.
So you're partnering with somebody for a data masking capability?
Yes, that's right. We've got existing partnerships as well, but this is just one that this goes in with our whole keep everything on Z. So if the masking software is on Z, running on PopUp, which is also running on an IFL on Z, then no data doesn't ever leave the mainframe. And that's very important to tier ones, that data thou shall never leave the mainframe. So we're meeting them by working this way. Just to quickly summarize the two versions we have available. We renamed our original product to X Edition, running on x86 on my sleeve there. And we've got Z on the other side over here.
So what do you say, the PopUp on Z is new?
Yes.
Since you were here last time, what are you seeing as that reaction? Has that unlocked demand for you guys?
It very much does so, because before, when we presented to some big banks, they loved the product, they loved the flexibility and what the product did, but some of the larger mainframe teams, I think, saw running mainframe into the cloud as an existential threat, and so were maybe put off. But where if it's actually running on the mainframe, then and they see that as a more secure option, their SecOps teams mandate that data shouldn't go to the cloud, for example, so it solves that problem.